How's it going, everybody? I wanted to try to start doing like one video a day to try to keep up with the amount of comments and things like that are coming in. It seems like there's been a lot of new traction on the channel, and I'm uh, I'm having a hard time keeping up with the amount of questions that are coming in. So I feel like it's going to be one of those things where I have to like the tech support Thursday once a week isn't going to be sufficient enough to handle the influx of questions and things like that, which is a good problem to have for me because then it forces me to record more content. So I'll probably this J.K. Rowell made a mention that we might want to do two tech support Thursdays a week, which maybe we do a tech support Tuesday and a tech support Thursday. You never know. So for those of you that didn't see the post that I did yesterday, I am going to be starting to do a whiteboard Wednesday, which will be free to anybody that wants to. What's the word? Um, Show up to the live stream where I'll go live for about an hour to try to answer questions and things like that. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna attempt to do it through just a YouTube live. You guys just will throw your questions up there. The cool thing about it is we can talk about whatever. Now I've picked a topic because I needed to in order to kick it off, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about how my lab is built. So the VMware piece, the ESXi piece, the servers that I bought, the reason why I bought them, where you can get the software images legally, and all that type of stuff that comes with it. So my goal is to do that on Wednesdays, and then Fridays I'm going to start coaching sessions where the coaching sessions will be specific for anyone that is a existing member. You can sign up at any time and a member of the channel, whether you click on the join button on a video and you pay the $10 a month, or you go through the Patreon link, and then I'll make sure to put all of that information in the description of this video, so which will include the sample workbook and then the link to the Patreon workbook. So the just for clarity's sake, Wednesday will be free for anybody that wants to join the live Wednesday web stream. So you can just show up. We hang out hour 15, maybe an hour and a half, depending on the amount of questions and interaction that's going on and things like that. And then Friday, we're going to be doing a coaching session. So if you are deep into your certification preparation, or you're stuck on a particular topic, or there's a particular topic that like you've been like googling stuff or watching videos and you just need a deeper dive into the particular topic, if I can help dive into those things, those will be for members only, and I'm expecting a much more smaller crowd. I'm hoping for good turnout for both, but my goal is to start doing this on a weekly basis. The days might shift depending on the week, depending on how busy I am with work, if I have to travel. If I can make a live stream, you might see the background change. I might be doing it from a hotel, so it depends on my schedule. I might bump it back an hour or do it an hour earlier, but I will do my best to let you guys know a couple days in advance so that you guys can join. That's why I'm doing a video today, to give you 48 hours notice for the whiteboard Wednesday and the coaching sessions on Friday. So I wanted to get to J.K. Rowell's questions. He's got lots of them, and so I wanted to kind of dig into answering one of them and start working my way through all of his questions. Ironically, you guys are just pounding me with comments, which is great. I'd rather have more comments than not enough, and then have like a 5-minute tech support Thursday is kind of weak. So I'll try to keep it relatively concise, but I tend to dig into the topic and want to go way beyond what you probably the questions was intended to dig into the knowledge on. But at the end of the day, it's the more information you have, the more informed of a decision you'll be able to make. That's my goal anyway. And I have my trusty dusty smoker T-shirt on here. I definitely I have a Traeger pellet grill. There was some comments about that when I was on the live with InfoSec Pat. I do enjoy smoking meat. I am a guitar player. They're sitting on the wall over there. I was actually tempted to record a little 5 minute little not melody, kind of compilation, if you will, of little riffs that I put together for all the a bunch of songs that I know, and then put them out there just so you guys can see that. But I don't want this to turn into something that it really isn't supposed to be. This is a technology channel. That's what it's geared for. I have been kicking around the idea of starting a lifestyle channel where I talk about, what I do a day in the life of Rob. Other stuff, the smoking, the guitar, what's it's like to develop a workbook, or how do I develop a lab, things like that. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and dig into some of these questions. I'm going to try to knock out 1, 2, maybe 3, depending on the time. I'm going to try to keep it a little bit shorter, 15, 20 minutes, instead of talking for an hour and 15 like I did on one of them, which I'm sure, you walk into an hour-long video, it's going to be a lot. So anyway, that's basically the updates I have. I do have some stuff I'm working on that I don't want to let too much out of the cat out of the bag yet, because it's too early to say, but we'll start digging into it. So the first question is, let's imagine the routing and switching enterprise infrastructure track didn't exist. So I'm looking at this question right here. Didn't exist. Which track would you specialize in instead? DC or SP or what? That's a good question, because I cut my teeth in campus networking, right? Most people cut their teeth in campus networking. So layer 2 networking, layer 3 networking, basic routing, things like that. So if I was going to start over, or if the route switch track didn't exist, where would I go? Now, what's ironically, back when I was it 2012, I think, something like that. So Cisco typically, if they come out with a new technology track, like I think the last one they came out with was data center, where they actually had to come up with a new platform. So Nexus, for example. What do they already had voice, and they just migrated it to collaboration to include, collaboration tools like instant messaging and stuff like that. So there really wasn't that big of a difference between voice and collaboration. I mean, there might have been, but to my knowledge, it wasn't that much of a drastic change. It wasn't a whole new set of platforms and technologies and things like that. Where I think data center was the last big track that they released, and that was 12 years ago. And the reason why that time frame sticks out at me is because I remember INE doing a V seminar on, was it YouTube? It was posted to YouTube. That's where I watched it, where Brian and Mark broke down the CCIE data center track and the different technologies and the topologies and all that type of stuff that goes along with it. So that was about the time that I was really starting to sink my teeth into networking. So at the time, it was going to be really, really expensive, and I didn't have the funds, the income to afford to do another track. So to be honest with you, I probably would have gone security, simply for the fact that it's always there, whether it's end user security, whether you're talking antivirus or malware protection or whatever it might be. There's always something out there security-wise to dig into. So that's probably what I would have done. Now, ironically, there was the desire myself. I was trying to put too many irons in the fire at one time on technology. So I remember I worked at a school district for a little while, and my lunch break, I would put on a pair of headphones, and I would load up some Security Plus training, and I would start going through that to try to understand Security Plus, because my goal at that time was A Plus, Network Plus, Security Plus, and Server Plus, and then eventually move into, Microsoft Server, Cisco networking, VMware virtualization, because I wanted to be as well-rounded as I could be. And the reason why I wanted to be as well-rounded as I could be is because the district that I worked at they had a local consulting firm come in, and you would have a guy that was the network guy. He was the first CCIE that I ever met in person. And then you had him, and then you had a VMware guy, then you had a Microsoft guy, then you had a security guy. But that's all they individually did. They all specialized. And then, which just goes back to my, you asked a question a while back of wider or deeper. And my question will always be deeper, especially when it comes to technology, because when you specialize in a particular area, you're the subject matter expert in that. So that's my opinion when it comes to specialization. So I would probably specialize in security. But for whatever reason, and I really can't even articulate it, but for some reason, service provider has always fascinated me. Maybe because of the fact that you're interconnecting multiple locations, or because the routing is more complicated, and I don't know. So there's something about service provider that just sounds cool to me. And a buddy of mine who's a triple CCIE that I'm still pretty good friends with, he's got route switch, service provider, and data center. So I was talking to him about it, but he got the tracks early on. Like, he passed route switch back when it was still open-ended questions, I think in version 2 or 3. Yeah, he passed data center, he passed service provider version 3, and he passed data center version 1. And if you ask anybody that's taken a CCIE, they will always tell you version 1 of that particular track is always going to be the easiest to pass, because it is the exam development team hasn't had a chance to really tweak it to get it to where it's more complicated. So that's pretty much where I would go. I would probably go security with, and I would probably do data center and service provider, because they're becoming the next big thing. The other thing that I think would be good is cloud. If you don't do cloud, I think that you're missing out. Now, I don't do any cloud myself, but it's one of those things where I have my big goals. You can't see my whiteboard that I'm looking at that's behind the screen, but on my big goals for what I'm trying to go after certification wise, that always keeps me busy, is service provider CCIE, CCDE. So you've got, once you get those two out of the way, that's both heavy time commitments. Once those are out of the way, then it's going to be not necessarily out of the way, but if I need a break from them, there's VMware Data Center, there's VMware Network Virtualization, and then I'd like to dabble into VDI. Not anything super complicated, but just to know how to deploy everything and get it working. But it's more like I want to know because I want to know. That's what it really comes down to. And then it's the big 3 or 4 with cloud. Learn AWS, then learn Azure, then GCP, and then was it IBM or Oracle? One of those two. One of the bigger players. So it's one of those things where I'm 41 now. I'll be 42 here, not too long. I feel like I've got the next 10 years. Well, probably not 10. I probably have the next, let's say, 6 years of my life that over that 6-year period of time, I feel like those are all goals that I will probably be able to achieve. I already know VMware Data Center pretty well. It would just be a matter of going through the latest version of ESXi 8 and vCenter 8, and then go through the technology, the documentation, and just test everything out. Same thing with NSX. Learn all the nuances with that, at least as far as you can lab it up in a home lab. There's going to be some things like VMware on a public cloud, VMC. You're not going to be able to run, HCX, Hybrid Cloud Exchange, where you're going to connect your on-prem data center to a cloud data center, right? There's going to be certain things you won't be able to demo. So, but as long as you understand how they work, you can have that conversation. So those are some of the things that I would like to go learn. Then the VDI piece, I really don't know VDI that well. I'd have to go spend some serious time reading through the documentation, go learn it, and then dive into the big cloud providers. I don't know how long that would take. I'm maybe 6 years is a reasonable round number. I don't know. Maybe it'll be happen faster than that. The cool thing about networking is anything networking focused, I pick up pretty quickly because there's already a strong knowledge base there, and to me that's what benefits me long term. And my goal is, regardless of if I stay in pre-sales as a solutions architect or a sales engineer or whatever I might get into down the road, regardless of where I look at it, um, the I want to future proof myself so that all I have to do is spend a couple of months learning something new. I don't necessarily have to be a implementation expert in it, but if as long as I understand the major, big cog pieces of it, and I can speak to those factors, that's going to be a win-win for me to any job that I might get into because I'll be knowledgeable in the technology. So those are some things that I think are really, really interesting and that you should really spend some time in is proving out what you know and how you know it. Another thing that I think is rather important is when you're talking about, and I'm going to move on to your next question here. One of the things that I think is really important is regardless of what your main core competency is, if you never take yourself out of your comfort zone and start digging into technologies you've never worked with before, then you're kind of limiting yourself. So one of the things that I'm always thinking about is how can I always make more money? Not that I don't make enough money in my day-to-day job, but this is more of a down the road when I get a little bit older, I may not want to spend 40 hours a week working, right? If I hit my mid 50s, I might want to go part-time or semi-retirement, things like that when I no longer have the commitments that I have today and the obligations. So, you have to think to yourself, okay, how can I, for the next, say, 20 years, but before I hit 60, how can I maximize my income? So I'm always thinking like, okay, what can I do? So I have a couple different business ventures. One of them is YouTube. Most of you guys are familiar with that. And then I also have workbook development. So I'm working on book development and things like that. So the other thing that I thought to myself was like, okay, well, one thing I would like to do, just because of the simple fact that it would be a nice to have, would be to go get my bachelor's degree in a particular thing. So, continuous self-improvement. So I follow a lot of entrepreneurial type stuff online, and like, okay, how can what don't I know, and who can I go learn from? Because at the end of the day, I'm a student of life, right? I don't think anybody's got life mastered, but maybe some people do. But the people that work for themselves, they spend a few hours a day. They can literally be anywhere in the world they want to be. Nice weather, cold weather, they can go do what they want when they want, and they're not having to report to a boss. Like, they are their own boss. That's a life I'd like to go live too. So, I'm like constantly like, okay, what do I got to do in order for me to get from where I'm at now, living a comfortable lifestyle, to being able to be like that? Like, that to me, that's the next stage of life, right? You have, you go to work 40 hours a week. You have to deal with traffic and all the monotony of life. And then to me, the next stage up from there is where you have a very comfortable life, where you get to work from home. You get to kind of work the hours you kind of want to work, things like that. Be available for stuff, things like that. Next stage of life is going to where you are the boss. Like, you own your own organization. You need to do stuff that you need to go do. So that's kind of where I see myself going over the next period of time. If that means I have to go back to school to go, get a bachelor's degree or take classes on business management or marketing or stuff like that to help me understand how that process works, then that's what I do. So yeah, that's essentially where I see myself going in the future, is it's always learn so that I have an idea of where I need to go. Always trying to steer the ship through, try to keep myself in calm waters, but if I have to go into choppy water for a little while, I do that, but I never put myself in a position where overextend myself or put myself in a position where I'm taking on too much water and I can't handle the situations that I'm in. What do you love more and why? Routing or switching? Oh, routing. Routing way more than switching. Switching is a piece of cake. Switching, you've got what, 5 things maybe? VLANs, trunking, we'll say VTP, spanning tree, and port channels. That's it. You have 5 things that you have to think about when it comes to layer 2 networking. What do you got to consider with routing? Well, you've got 5 routing protocols: RIP, EIGRP, OSPF, IS-IS, and BGP. So you got 5 protocols. How many things can you do with each one of those? 10, 12 to 15, 15, 20, 175 is what BGP you can feel like you can do with BGP. You can do a lot with BGP. Actually, it's my favorite protocol. I like working with BGP a lot. So those are some of the questions I want to knock out in this video. I want to keep it relatively short and try to answer those questions. I am working on, I've got some stuff that I'm working on in the background. I'm not, it's too early to talk about it. I'll throw out there that I'd like to start developing my own website. So where all the things that I want to go do, YouTube related or book development wise, would be in one central place where you wouldn't have to jump around and find it. You just go right to this particular URL, boom, you can find it, you click on it, it's instant access to said product or desire, so whatever it is you're trying to look for. So those are the things that I'm working on. Workbook development is coming along. I actually realized I had found a flaw in a couple of topologies that I had built where I was done with IGP and BGP for service provider. I tried to, it's not a blueprint topic. Actually, let me pull up SPB5 real quick. If we look at core routing, there's no specific path, like you got path attribute and you got scale and performance. So, and if we look at access, let's see, is it in here? No. Is it in access connectivity? No. High availability? Yeah, so I got to here. Pick a prefix independent convergence works similar to BGP add path. They're not the same thing. But I was like, wait a minute. And you got LFA, loop free alternate, and fast reroute. So I was like, So I was playing around with the topology I had built for BGP, and then I realized the flaw in my design. So it was one of those things where I hadn't thought about something. So I'm actually going back through and I'm rebuilding everything. Because, well, that's the benefit of being in workbook development. You're testing things out and you're like, I screwed up and I just need to go back. And does it take me long to do it? No. It's a day, 2, 3 maybe that I have to go back to the drawing board and rebuild. But that's the thing. I learn from my mistakes. I'm throwing them out there. You guys will just benefit from me going, okay, screwed up here. Need to adjust, figure this out, and then get on with my day. So that is it for today. I wanted to keep it relatively short and to the point. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, feedback, drop that into the comment section below. I will put a link in the descriptions for the access to the Patreon for those that cannot join the membership through the YouTube channel, as well as if they want to just go to Patreon directly. It is a recurring payment of $10 a month. The workbook is $50, but it's a one-time deal. So once you buy it, I screwed up when I originally did it. I was supposed to only do it for a one-time payment, but for some reason it's monthly. Just cancel your membership. So, and then once you have it for life. It's yours. So I'm also looking at a way of making that more websiteable, if you will. So making it to where, if you already have at it, you can. I'm working on trying to build a central location for everything to go into. YouTube is great for the videos, but I'm looking at some way to try to centralize everything in one spot. So I think that makes a lot of sense. With that being said, I want to thank you guys for stopping by and hanging out with me. And until next time, guys, take it easy.